we're gonna go and try and hopefully catch a couple big ones today and see what happens.
Fishing with Gussy is proudly sponsored by and uses Shimano rods and reels. Visit fish.shimano.com for more information.
Welcome to Fishing with Gussy. It's cold, it's fall, and we're going after lake trout today. So I got my buddy Brian McNanney from Soon Arrows along, and he's kind of the bass guy in this part of the world in Sunset Country. So we're gonna take him out of his element a little bit today and see if he can catch some lake trout. But he grew up on Whitefish Bay on Lake of the Woods, so he's caught lots of them, and we're gonna go and try and hopefully catch a couple big ones today and see what happens. So it should be fun. Let's get this boat in the water. We never pick the nice days to go fishing. We like the challenge when it's cold and kind of windy. Now, as you can see, a few of the leaves are starting to change. It's still, we're kind of mid-September. Lake trout season is open until the end of September, and then October 1st it closes. They spawn in the fall and will, come up in pretty shallow water once it cools down. So the water temperatures have dropped quite a bit in the past couple of weeks. So our feeling is that these trout aren't in that super deep, 100-foot plus stuff where they spend a lot of the summer. We're right now, we just dropped down on our first place and we're fishing in about 60 feet of water. We pulled up to a little break and marked 3 or 4 fish. So we started fishing and had one chasing me right away on my first drop down, but he didn't bite. So we're just kind of drifting around here on a big kind of deep hump and trying to mark them on the graph and then get our baits in that zone where the fish are. That's why you use the electronics right there. We're just drifting along, marked a couple fish, and I dropped down and my bait was getting close to the bottom and this mark started coming up, and Brian goes, "Oh, there you go." And I'm letting it fall, and all of a sudden my line just stopped and I knew I wasn't on the bottom yet. Look at that. That's why you go to Sunset Country and fish for lake trout, baby. We're like 10 minutes into our little adventure here, and that is a honey of a fish. Hey, Brian? Sweet. Jig popped out. We're fishing in barbless country here on Lake of the Woods. So that jig just popped out. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? That's awesome. Sweet, man.
Good start.
That's an awesome start. We're gonna get this guy back and catch another one. That thing was happy. Brian's hooked up. I think these things are biting today. This is awesome, buddy.
15 minutes in. He's right there.
You got him close?
Yeah.
Oh man, look at that, another beauty.
Another beauty.
Sweet. They're just little chunks, man. There, hooks out. That's awesome. That, yeah. And these big fish like this, pretty sweet to catch them and release them, because there's not a lot of places where you can go and catch lake trout that size and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they're slow growing too. They grow like a ½ pound a year. So a fish like that's probably like a 10 pounder. So that's a, you know, almost
15,
a 20,
20,
15, 20-year-old fish.
Absolutely.
So,
Nice.
cool. Same deal. We just marked that one on the graph. I was actually casting, and Brian dropped his bait down, and it
Happy.
that fish just started racing up for it before the bait even got to the bottom, and boom, he was hooked up. So, and we got another one under us, I think, right now.
Yeah, let's get at her.
Catch him. This is unbelievable. This is a smaller one, but I'm gonna show you on the graph what happened here. You can see there was, I just lost them. That's all right, but you can see there was my jig going down right there. I'm gonna stop the screen. There goes the fish back down to the bottom. There was my jig going down. That's the fish near the bottom. I got down, I jigged it. He came up and he hit it once and I missed him and I dropped it back down. And he hit it right here, and then and then that was me fighting the fish. And look at this other one coming up for me right here. This is my bait. I'm just out of the angle, so you can't see it super good. But there's another fish down there, kind of. Oh, there we go. I had the screen stop, that's why. But there's my jig, and with these trout, usually you want to kind of keep it up above the fish, but there it is. Here he comes. Oh. He's looking at it. There's one down there that's interested, but there he's coming up. So I'm gonna keep bringing my bait up and just try to keep it away from him. He bailed off again. But anyway, you can use your electronics, and I mean, these hummingbirds are so good. That's my bait right there. I'm jigging it, and that's a fish kind of chasing it around looking at it. And you can come out here, if you know where these lake trout, you know, the general areas where they are, see the fish on your sonar and then catch them. So, pretty deadly. You got another one?
Yeah.
Wow. Is he close?
He's not too far down there.
Okay, I got to reel in here and I'll grab the net for you.
He's going
How
down.
far down in the water column was that one?
He was almost on bottom.
Oh yeah? This is unbelievable. So Brian he's got another one on the sonar, so he's dropping down, but I gotta get a little look at this fish. Wow. He's tough, man. Aren't those the most pretty fish you've ever seen? They are beautiful, man. Awesome. We'll get this guy back. You can catch them, you know, in this colder water, and their activity level. This is the first time that Brian and I have fished for these things in quite a few months. Actually, we haven't been fishing for them, just with all the bass stuff going on and everything else. But you can tell their activity level is starting to ratchet it up a little bit because it's cooling off, and you know, my hands haven't dried off since we started fishing. I'm getting my line back in the water. I still haven't even got to make a good cast with this thing yet and let it actually get down there and reel it in slow. Basically all I'm doing, it's a 1 ounce jig, so it's fairly heavy. That spinner slows it down so it's not sinking super fast. But I'm just casting it out there, whipping it way out there, and pretty well letting it sink to the bottom, and then just sort of reeling it fast for 20 feet, and then letting it sink back down and just kind of glide through the water column. And I got hit a couple times. There's a little couple teeth marks on there, so that one bit it good, but I don't know how you didn't get that big hook. Try again here. So Brian, growing up in Sioux Narrows, obviously you've done a lot of lake trout fishing over the years on Whitefish Bay. What's the biggest trout that you guys have seen get caught?
Quite commonly we get, that 20 to 25 pound range. And every once in a while you hear someone catching a 30.
Yeah.
I've never been lucky enough to catch a 30, but I've caught in 22, 23.
Yeah. I've caught one legitimate like 30-pound fish, and I actually caught it. I was in 9th grade and I got in trouble at school, so I got sent home for a couple days and wrestling in the class. Nothing really that bad, but got sent home for a couple days. So my family had a cabin out on the west end of the lake here, and so my neighbor, I got to work on the dock. It was in the spring, so the dock was all wrecked from the ice, and I got to come out and help my dad work on the dock for a few days. And the deal was I wasn't allowed to go fishing because I was in, kind of in trouble. But my neighbor, Harley Hansen, at our cabin, came over and wondered if I wanted to go lake trout fishing one night. So we went out, and it was pretty early in the year. The fish were still shallow, and I caught one that was like 43 inches and super fat, and it was that's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen around here.
Yeah, I've seen a couple, but I've never caught one that big.
As far as time of year, what's your favorite time of year to fish them?
Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, spring when they're shallow, and you can cast for them, you can troll for them, you can shore fish, you can even jig for them still. And
yeah.
Yeah, it's you can kind of do everything.
Window's a lot more open for different ways to catch them. There it is, I got him. I was letting it fall back down. I was kind of a wimpy hook set, but oh man. There, I got the biggest bait on and I get the smallest fish. Still a pretty nice one though. Sweet. Okay. This fish has got a really, really pretty marking on him here. They're kind of a neat, I've never seen this before. Okay, I've got a good grip on him. I'm not hurting him. So hook's popping out. Look at this. See that kind of neat color? A lot of them have, you can see the nice pretty orange on the fins and white. They're just some of the most beautiful fish that we have, that's for sure. Awesome. All right, we're gonna let this guy go, take a break, and we'll be back. We're having lots of fun out here catching lake trout on Lake of the Woods. Awesome. Woo! I was gonna let that one go nice and drop him in nice and gentle, and he wanted to go, so he went. There's a bunch of them down there though. There, that one got it. Look at this.
Tech Tips is brought to you by Northland Fishing Tackle, made by fishermen for fishermen.
All right, so this is my box of these fish head spin type jigs, and they work really good for spotted bass down in the southern US, and that's why I have them. I've used them in some of the tournaments down south. So I happen to have a few really big heavy ones, so that's what we're trying here, and I'm gonna rig up a second one of these so we can cast around, but this one's even heavier than the one I'm using, and I think it'll probably work pretty good. My hands are kind of cold right now because they're wet and it isn't all that warm out, so it's not the easiest. All right. So yeah, there we go. I could probably, this jig's made for the big hollow-bellied swim baits. That's why the keeper's not even hitting my minnow, but that's it right there. That should work pretty good.
Tech Tips is brought to you by Northland Fishing Tackle, made by fishermen for fishermen.
Sometimes he's kind of following it down now. I'm dropping it down. Wow, man. When they come up racing hot like that, they kill it. Huh. So that's me right there. That's jigging around, and this line right here is a fish, the bigger, heavier line, and he bailed off that time, but he was looking. Here comes another one. It's probably the same fish, and he's sort of wise to what I'm doing maybe. He doesn't want to bite. There's a bunch of them down there though. There, that one got it. Look at this. He came racing up off the bottom and just freight trained it. I love it when they don't look around.
That might be a nice one.
Yeah, this might be a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going back down to the bottom. Wow. Man.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that one in my wrist, bud. The rod I'm using, this is a 7-1 Loomis medium heavy GLX. One of my favorite, actually my favorite bass rods for fishing for largemouths, and a little bit, you know, if you're fishing around some heavy weeds or things like that. It's got some backbone to it, and I'll tell you what, it's getting a workout right now. You never know with these things. I've had some that come in easy and they're big monster 20-pounders, and then other times you get some that fight and fight and fight, and then they're a, you know, 9 or 10-pounder. But this one's gonna be a nice one, I can tell you that. We're getting close now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a big boy. Look at that. That is a fat one. You can hear he's puking up some air right now. Let's throw that down. And that's one of the things, lake trout are probably, I think they're actually, whitefish and lake trout are the only fish that can actually adjust their air bladder and burp up some of that air when they're coming out of deeper water. And this isn't super deep or anything. That was out of 48, 50 feet of water, but whew, I'm shaking, man. That's awesome.
Tank?
That's a tank. All right, let's catch another one.
Nice.
These things are snapping today. We're gonna take a break, and I gotta dry my hands off and
Warm up.
warm up a little bit, and we're gonna keep catching some more of these big suckers. Oh man, I just finished reeling it for a little bit.
Technology has always been a driving factor for the advancement of sport fishing, and just like cars, gearing your boat for speed has always gotten anglers excited to keep pushing the limits of engineering. And as these older motors show, the speed gauge started small, but it sure beat rowing or paddling to those hard-to-reach spots. With a 7-horsepower engine, this 1929 Alto Speedster revolutionized the weight of motors by being the lightest on the market. It was also reliable and tough for the outdoors. This 1946 Champion Deluxe declutching propeller motor put out about 4 horsepower and came from the innovation of 2 tool and punch makers, Cliff Scott and Bruce Atwater. Right on the end is this 20 horsepower Mercury Twin, the first to allow quiet trolling for walleye while still giving you enough speed to plane a boat between spots while carrying 3 people. All of these motors are restored by Jim Geddes and can be viewed at the Northern Ontario Sport Fishing Centre in Sioux Narrows, Ontario.
Oh, that one messed up my bait. That was a swing and a miss right there. They should probably glue that body on there.
Yeah. I think I saw that one down there. He's kind of came out of nowhere. It's right there.
And you know what? People say that barbless hooks don't catch them.
Yeah, really. You lost one.
I lost
one fish all day.
It wasn't a real big one, and I was kind of looking at the graph while I was fighting it. So, but you keep it tight. Don't give them any slack. And
Yeah, you're not gonna lose too many.
you're not going to lose too many. Oh man, I just finished reeling it for a little bit, and I was just letting it fall. And man, he just about tore the rod out of my hand. I think this is a little bigger than the last one. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just using a bass flipping stick. Another nice one, not a giant, but
That's same
pretty
size
sweet.
though. Nothing to complain about.
No, you couldn't go, I don't know where you could go in the world and catch lake trout like this. Come here, baby. He's getting himself in a knot here. Wow. I gotta get him unhooked. There we go. This is a nice tangle-free net. Everything's clear. Look at that. Awesome. They are pretty. They're all fat and chunky. They're eating good. Awesome. All right, buddy. Well, that was a pretty awesome afternoon of catching lake trout, man.
Yeah, awesome time.
Can't complain about that.
We don't get up very much. Spend a lot of time fishing against each other, but not with each other. So
Yeah, no, that was
always
good.
nice to get out.
I think I probably caught one or two more than you today, right? I wasn't really keeping track, but
You definitely caught the biggest one.
no, that was fun. Thanks very much for coming out today. And you know, people, you want to go lake trout fishing on Lake of the Woods. This guy knows Whitefish Bay really well, and he can get you hooked up.
Thanks, buddy.
All right,
Good time.
okay, man. Let's get out of
Get
here.
home, have a coffee and
go warm up. We're wimpy. I was smart and brought my gloves today.
Tuck mine in.
Fishing with Gussy proudly uses and is sponsored by Jackal Lures.